Oliver Evans was not born into privilege, but into promise. On September 13th, 1755, in the quiet village of Newport, Delaware, he came into a world still tethered to the old ways, where fields were plowed by hand and flour was ground by muscle. He was the fifth of 12 children, raised on the humble plots of a farming family. But even as a boy, Oliver's imagination reached beyond the plow and the wheel. From the start, young Oliver displayed a restless curiosity. His early schooling was meager, yet he devoured every scrap of technical knowledge he could find. At 15, he was apprenticed to a wheelwright, a trade that immersed him in tools, materials, and the raw logic of machines. And it was during these formative years, as the American colonies were stirring with revolutionary fervor, that Oliver began dreaming not of war, but of invention. By the 1780s, Oliver had fixed his sights on one of the most labor-intensive industries in the young republic, flour milling. In dusty, loud mills across the colonies, workers toiled at every stage of the process, hoisting sacks, grinding grain, cooling flour, sifting and bagging, repeating the same backbreaking motions their forefathers had done for centuries. Evans believed there had to be a better way, and so, with the quiet confidence of a man who saw the future more clearly than the present, he set to work. Piece by piece, gear by gear, he built a revolutionary milling system. A bucket elevator to lift grain vertically, screw conveyors to move it horizontally, the ingenious hopper boy to cool and spread flour mechanically, and automated bolters to sift it with precision. The result: a fully automated flour mill, operated by a single person. Grain entered at one end and exited as fine sifted flour at the other, with little human touch in between. It was elegant, efficient, radical. In 1785, Evans secured patents in Delaware and Pennsylvania, decades before industrial automation became a buzzword. But rather than applause, he was met with suspicion. Traditional millers scoffed, investors hesitated, and Evans found himself battling not only the forces of gravity, but the inertia of human doubt. Faced with resistance, Evans turned to the power of words. In 1795, he co-authored a book with Thomas Edison, The Young Millwright and Miller's Guide. It wasn't just a manual, it was a manifesto. Packed with diagrams, calculations, and clear prose, it gave millers across the nation the tools to modernize. The book would stay in print for nearly a century, quietly transforming an industry one reader at a time. But Evans wasn't done. Into the age of steam, while his flour mill gathered reluctant admiration, Evans turned his inventive spirit toward something even more ambitious: the harnessing of steam. At the time, steam engines were massive and unwieldy, fine for Britain's mines, but ill-suited to America's factories and fields. Evans envisioned something different: a compact, high-pressure steam engine that could power almost anything, anywhere. In 1801, he built the Columbian engine, a marvel of American ingenuity. Compact, powerful, and entirely constructed with American resources, it signaled a shift toward domestic industrial independence. Unlike James Watt's low-pressure engines, Evans's design delivered direct rotary motion and higher efficiency. It could drive millstones, saw blades, and even, Evans believed, vehicles. He wasn't content to theorize. He wanted to prove it. The amphibious monster. In 1805, Philadelphia watched in awe as a monstrous, steam-belching machine rolled through its streets. Part dredger, part wagon, part boat, the Oruktor Amphibolos, or amphibious digger, was Evans's most daring creation yet. Commissioned to clean the city's docks, the Oruktor was powered by one of Evans's steam engines. It could move on land, paddle through water, and carry heavy loads. While its commercial success was limited, its symbolic power was immense. Here was a machine that defied boundaries between land and sea, imagination and reality. Philadelphians gawked. Skeptics scoffed. But Evans knew what they were witnessing: The birth of the modern self-propelled vehicle. A lone voice for progress. As years passed, Evans continued to invent, refine, and preach. He urged Congress for stronger patent protections. He fought for recognition. He wrote letters, lectured skeptics, and clashed with competitors. At times, his frustration boiled over. He saw a future so clearly, yet so few seemed willing to follow. Still, he persisted. He dreamed of steam-powered wagons delivering goods across continents, of machines replacing drudgery with dignity. He imagined America as a land where invention drove prosperity, and where the genius of the mechanic was celebrated alongside the might of the general or the pen of the statesman. When Oliver Evans died in 1819, many of his dreams remained unfulfilled. But the seeds he had planted, automation, mechanization, industrial self-reliance, would bloom across the 19th century. His automated flour mill foreshadowed the assembly lines of Henry Ford. His high-pressure steam engines would power the steamboats and railways of the industrial age. His writings would educate and empower generations of American engineers. And perhaps most importantly, Evans modeled a uniquely American brand of innovation, practical, persistent, and unafraid to disrupt. Today, his name may not be widely known, but every factory floor, every automated system, every piece of machinery that reduces toil and multiplies human effort carries a piece of his spirit. This is not just the story of a man who built machines. It is the story of a man who built a future. Oliver Evans, the forgotten genius who refused to be ordinary.